As I mentioned earlier, am I on? You guys are in for a treat today. If you call the refuge home, you have depending on how old you are, you may think of him as your uncle if you're under 30. Yeah, that's right. If you're over 30, you just think of him as your cousin. That's Pastor Costi, and he's visiting here from Romania. In 2022, when the war in Ukraine broke out, we just had a burden to get over there and see what we can do. And so I called my missionary friends, and it's amazing what a tight-knit world it is, what a small world the mission world is. And several people that are very reliable, dependable resources said, you got to talk to this guy, Costi. And so Pastor Chris and I went and met Costi and just fell in love with the guy. Beautiful family. In fact, Elsa, his daughter's here. Could you raise your hand, Elsa? That a girl. She's got a beautiful smile. And did you remember that song I told you have to come up and sing all by yourself? No? Okay. So he brought his beautiful daughter, but you're going to hear her. He's got a lot of kids, a lot of family. Anyway, Costi's the real deal. So he took Chris and I into the Ukraine. He still today visits often to deliver medical supplies, food, whatever's needed. And so we are blessed to hear him share about what the Lord is doing in his life, in his world. So please welcome our friend, Pastor Costi.
Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Just the other day at Pastor Bill's house, I was asking him for some slippers, so I said it in Romanian. Do you have some papuci? And I didn't realize I was saying it in Romanian, but I guess he heard chicalacas or whatever. So the slippers are being called chicalacas. So papuci in Romanian. So. Thank you, Pastor Bill. We're blessed to be here. We're blessed to be able to, actually we're traveling, my daughter and I are traveling for about a month. This is our fourth stop. And then we're heading over to, back to Rancho Cucamonga, and then Boise and South Carolina, Tennessee, places that you might not have been there. I don't know. Boise? It's very nice there. But every time we come here, we're so blessed by you guys, and we're blessed to be able to actually share with you guys as well. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Costi, C-O-S-T-I. Pastor Bill calls me Costinel Constanza. Another name that he comes up with. Where did he come up with these names? Actually, my name is Costinel, so it's Constantin Costinel Keenan. So I got a long name, but I go by Costi. And my wife and I have served in Romania for a long time, and we've established a place called Refuge Center Romania, and the last few years we've been involved and part of a refuge church in Romania as well. And what we do, we work with in the orphan system and with the youth aging out of the system. And we also work with struggling families in the villages that are nearby. And we also are connected, as Bill mentioned, with the work in Ukraine still. There's still things happening in Ukraine. So when you think of Ukraine and you're not hearing much about it, there's still things happening there. So keep them in prayers. They're still struggling. We're still happening. But I wanted to share a little bit about me. before we talk about the ministry. And I think it's important that you understand the background of where I come from. And it's something personal to me. It's something that God has done and nothing of me. So I spent part of my childhood in the orphan system in Romania. I spent quite a few years in a place called Buftea, where a lot of younger kids, probably from 2-year up to 7-year-old, were held there. And a lot of the kids, a lot of us growing up in these places, doesn't mean that we didn't have parents. We probably did have somebody. It was really hard for us to be provided for. So a lot of the families were given the opportunities of giving the child or the children into this orphan system that the government set up, where some of them, a lot of them back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, were big institutions, big places where over 100, over 200 kids were living together. And the one younger orphanage where I was, they were mixed. There were girls and boys. Girls were in one floor, and then the boys were in another floor. And then at the age of 9, a lot of those kids were moved up to a bigger orphanage where there's older kids. And so a lot of the girls there were taken to girls' orphanage, and a lot of us boys were taken to boys' orphanage. In the city, which is Bucharest, is the capital. And so I end up in this orphanage, and it was pretty hard living with a lot of kids around, and maybe a handful of staffing providing or caring, what you call taking care of us back then. And it felt, we didn't know any better. We didn't know the outside world. We actually didn't know what a family means, what it means to have a parent, a mom, and a dad, what it means to have siblings. We did nothing like that. All we see each other, those were our brothers or our friends or somebody that we grow up with. We didn't even consider the staff that were taking care of us closer to us. They were just there, in a sense, for the money. They were just there because they had a job and they somehow take care of us. But we pretty much raised ourselves as best as we can, as best as we were told, I guess. And we did everything in the orphanage. We did school. We would eat there, of course. And there were a bunch of rooms. There were probably 20 rooms in a hallway, where there were about 8 to 16 in a room. I ended up with 8 in a room, which was better. It was you had somewhat guarantee that no one's gonna come in there and steal your stuff, although it happens all the time. Even the staff, when they thought we were doing so bad, they would spank us. And the way they would spank us, and beaten at some point, they would tell us to put our palm out, and when they would take this metal piece, and metal from, you know how you hang clothes in the closets, they would pull those out, and they would just hit it so hard, where if the hand wasn't red enough, then they'll continue to do so. And they would smack it really, really. So they would line us by the wall, and that's how they would try to find out who did that, who was bad. And then if nobody recognizes things, then we were all in trouble. And yes. Yes.
I'm sorry, very sorry, Costi.
I apologize. We have a white Ford blocking the road over here. It has a white butterfly on the back window. Can you please move your rig? Thank you.
Sorry, Costi.
Hey, real life stuff.
It's not a
Yeah. anyway, so that's how our lives would go, and we weren't like disciplined like we discipline our children today, or we would tell them what they're doing wrong and what they could do, to become better. We would just really hit hard from the beginning, and that was hard. I was one of those kids where I didn't get beaten as much, but when those things would come around, I was part of the group. Man, do those hurt. And so it was really hard to go through. And those are the kind of things that would happen in the orphanage. We weren't even allowed to go outside the gates, although we had no idea what's out there, let alone trying to go. And so the staff would like keep us steady. They would tell us not to leave. And so while living in the orphanage, missionaries came. We had no idea who those people were back then. We used to call them strangers because they would come in and they would speak a language that we really didn't understand. And so they started coming not too long after the communists fell. And things were opening up in the country where people started coming and visiting, and even foreigners started coming. And so they came. I call it. They came into a broken place. They came to meet us, and then they started talking to us. We were trying to figure out what they're saying, but good thing they had some translators with them. But they were allowed to come into the orphanages, and they were allowed to come to know us, and they were allowed to find out who we are. And one of the things that stand out with me is these people coming like directly to us and trying to get to know us, where other people would just, orphans are just not a thing for them. And so, but these people were something different in them, and they wanted to come to know us. And so I got to meet a particular family there, that I got to spend a lot of times either in the orphanage or outside the orphanage, because by the time the second year came by, the team came again, these people came again, and they took us to a camp outside the city, and I got to spend a lot of time with these people. Eventually, I was adopted out of the orphanage and moved in with my adopted parents. A family. And then what stand out to me is the fact that they were able to even take me down, but it was huge for me to see they actually went back to the orphanage and continue to work with the children there, the kids that were left in a way left behind. They had I want to say they had a plan. They had a plan of showing us how much we also matter, and showing us how much we need to be loved, and showing us, actually bringing us God and bringing us Jesus to us. And the whole process was a life-changing for me, because it truly changed it. How do I say, completely changed the direction of my life. How we lived, the hardships and the circumstances, the hard time we had, not being loved, not being recognized, not being even being recognized on your birthday. Just everything was going against us, seeing these people coming and recognize us and loving us. They didn't even know us, but wanting to love. That changed my life forever. And let alone focus on me and loving me and taking me out of there. And it's what pressured me to even think about going back and giving back of what was given to me. And sometimes people ask me, why would you go back? Why would you go back to a place where it was the hardest thing to go through? Why would you go back in a place where nobody loved you, Nobody care for you. You even got beaten. You even got hurt there. Why would you go back? And my response was because through the people that God brought me, He rescued me. Through the people the doors were open for them, gave me a new purpose, and gave me a different way to look at life in a way. Even though it was hard, God opened my eyes that there's something out there much beautiful and much prepared for you. And so that gave me a bit of a nudge to even consider of going back. I did go back with my parents at some point, and a lot of the kids asked me, well, are you here to show us off? Like, are you here to tell us, oh, you left with Americans and you forgot all about us? And then I tell them, well, I'm here. I'm here and I'm helping. I'm here to show you that, you know what, there's a hope for you too. And so they didn't really understand that part, but oh, you're just here to show off. But it's hard. It's hard for a kid to understand that that something good could happen in their lives when you go through all your life, most of your life, being beaten or being hurt, not being loved, not being cared for. And some of the kids at 18, and I'll talk a little bit about that, end up leaving the orphanage, but end up in sex trafficking or drugs or all sorts of things because that's all they knew. That's all they were given opportunities when you leave the orphanage and end up going with the wrong crowd in a way. But I was blessed enough to be able to have that direction of my life change and to really know God and to really know Jesus, and that God would give me the opportunity to go back and tell him, you know what, there's a way out. There's a purpose for you. Next slide. I don't know how long I have still, but.
We got till 4 or 5 o'clock.
Okay, perfect. Elsa, you're next. So this is our family. Our family is very much connected to what we're doing, even though a lot of the times I spend in the hospital or a doctor's appointment with Georgia and Emmy. Georgia, the big smile, is 5 years old. She's about to turn 6. And she had 3 heart surgeries since she has had 2 heart surgeries since she's been with us. She has been taken away from her immediate family on an emergency charter because she was losing her life. Her heart was almost giving out. And so they saved her life by bringing her to the hospital and get her into surgery. So we were blessed to meet her in the hospital where she was recovering a few years ago. And we're blessed to have been able to take her into our home and really care for her and really give her the care she needs. And since then, she had 2 surgeries, and she's doing great. She's a character. She's our Georgia, and we love her very much. And then the one I'm holding is Emmy. Emmy's been with us for the last year and a half, couple years actually, and she has a muscular disorder. Jamie just said dystrophy muscular. I'm always hard with words in English when it comes to medical terms. But she's 2 years old, and she's amazing. She's a trooper. She's very strong. Although she's gone through a lot of sickness, we spend a lot of times with her in the hospital. And last time she was sick, we were in the hospital for about a month and something with her. And through that, she has not been able, since then, she has not been able to eat on her own. So we had to put in a feeding tube, and that's how she eats. And then we do a lot of breathing treatment. She has a very weak lung. So we do a lot of breathing treatment, and we also have a ventilation machine that we put on overnight, just kind of give her another layer of air so she could breathe. And then the doctors told us that she might not be able to walk ever, but we have a big God that can do miracles. So we're praying that she might be able to walk a little bit. And the next picture is our big family table. We do when we can, all our meals there. But this is what I love, when everybody's there and we're able to eat together. We had some friends at the time over, but next to me is my wife Elizabeth. On the other side of me is Elsa, which she's here. And then we got Jasmine and Anna. They're over there somewhere. And we have Albert that's next to Jamie. You might know Jamie from last time he was here living with us. So we have definitely a full house. And then besides that, we have a lot of kids that come. And our church happens in the same building. We have a sanctuary that's connected to the house we're living in. And so when we have people over, they have to come through. Sometimes they have to go through our house to be able to come to church. And so we get to see a lot of them walk in and out. It's where we do our ministry is in our house, but we also do outside of our ministry. So everything is connected. And so we have walked through difficulties with Georgia and Emmy, but we have, like I mentioned, we have a big God, and He gives us just enough strength, or He gives us extra strength to be able to care and to be able to watch out for what He's giving us to minister to. And so watching Georgia continue smiling, continues fighting, continue to trust us, it gives us even more strength and more courage to continue what God has put in our place. And so there's an amazing verse, Corinthians 12:9 says that my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weaknesses. And so when I look at this verse, is where our strength comes from. When we're weak and we can't do it anymore, when we see Georgia weakness, then we know that God's going to give us that. And so how He gives us, He's able. Look at that. Her smile just says it all. We were at a doctor's appointment there. Okay, Refuge, next slide. Refuge Center, it really grew out of the relationship we've been able to build over the years. And a lot what we do is mentoring youth coming out of the system. We're in the system a lot of the times, but a lot of those kids are growing. What we knew from someone 3 or 4 years old, now they're 19 or 20 years old. And so we're trying our best to walk every single day with them as they come out of the system, to make sure that, in our understanding, to make sure they're staying out of trouble. And so we're walking alongside with a lot of these kids. We're giving them a different direction. We're giving them the direction that I was given, the eye-opening and the surrender I was able to do. Is we're doing the same thing with these kids, with these boys, and a lot of the ministry doesn't happen behind the pulpit. A lot of the ministry, even though we have them come to our church, it happens. I do a lot of driving. Elsa can attest to that. I do a lot of driving, and I either take the kids to a job fair or take the kids to a medical hospital. I take everyone everywhere. We're so blessed to even have the van to be able to carry kids, and those are the moments. Those are the amazing moments that happens. Sometimes those are the direction of life that these boys need. They need something else. They need to be told they have potential. They need to be told that they are loved. They need to be told that they are cared. In the orphanage, it's hard because you're not being told anything, just that you're bad. The reason you're here is because nobody cares. Nobody loves you. The reason you're here is because your parents passed away. The reason you're here is because you're worthless. And these are the things that they're being told, even today. Even walking into these apartments, I hear staff calling to the kids, "You're being bad. What are you doing? You're no good." And so a little kid that's a 10-year-old, when you hear that, then of course your life is going to be, "I'm not good. Therefore, I don't deserve anybody's love. Therefore, I can get beaten and hurt all the time because I don't matter." And so we try our best, living through it, we try our best to turn that around for the kids and to really tell them, you do matter. Yes, you're being bad right now. You're making bad choices because that's all you don't know how to do good. I didn't know how to do good. I still don't know how to do good all the time. But we have a God that cares. We have someone that cares for you more than I can ever care. So through our conversation, it had to take a lot of time and trust for them to be able to even hear those words from someone that's been there, that's been in their shoes. And it changes the way they think. It gives them even more courage to ask questions, to even come to church, even though they're not used to sitting into a Bible study. But they're there to want to learn. And so many children grow up feeling unwanted, unseen, unimportant, or even forgotten. So that becomes no stability for them in their life. No one that can come and carry them through. With someone there constantly caring for them, to them it becomes instability. No one cares for me. And even kids aging out of the system, they have no family, no direction, no support, no one even checking on them. And honestly, a lot of these kids truly end up into somewhat addiction or even crime or unhealthy relationships, which we're dealing with a lot of them right now. A lot of the girls that are still in the orphanage are so young, and I know this is being recorded, but maybe we keep it there. At 14 or 15 are pregnant now. We probably have 5 or 6 girls that we are still in the orphanage are with children, their own children. And so those are the things that we walk through. And they are being taken out of their apartments and putting them into a center where they are being, technically they should be taught how to care for their own children, but they don't know that, and they don't want to do that, and so they're leaving the child into the government. And so there's your cycle. There's your continuing children growing up with no sense of direction and no making children of their own. And when I look back, I realize how blessed I was that God intervened in my life, and God has brought me a story so that I can carry that story to who we work with. God brought to me people that love me, people that care me, people that disciple me and really show me that Jesus is constantly with you and he'll never leave you. And so honestly, it's what we do through Refuge Center is simply trying to do the same thing to them, to tell them that they're not forgotten, to tell them that they're not unwanted, that their life matters, that God sees you, And God has a purpose for you, just like he had for me, and just like he had for many of us, is we're relaying that to the group of kids that we work with. And it's always through different things, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a hospital visit, whether it's just showing up again and again, showing up with a cake, recognizing their birthdays. That means a lot to them. And they take that as the best thing of their life, is someone showing up and recognizing them. Actually, when I don't show up, who gets the call? It's not the staff. It's not the director. Costi gets the call. You forgot about my birthday. And that's the hard thing you hear, because there's so many children, there's so many kids in the orphanage that have birthdays year after year. And it's hard to really cover all of them. But it brings me tear, because you forgot about my birthday. And so we try our best to be there. And when we do show up, remember Georgia's smile? That's how smiles are being given out, and their thankfulness. It's just little things. For the boys, we're a little rough with them, because they could do, and that's our encouragement, you could do so much better. And sometimes they look back of how they grow up and how hurt they were and how beaten they were, that they should do the same thing. And so we come in just in time where they're about to make those decisions. And some of them do make those hard decisions, and some of them are actually making good decisions by staying close to us, staying close to God, and staying close to the church. And the other thing we do is we do mentorship through soccer. We give them opportunities to the different activities that we have. We also have, besides soccer, we put together camps during the summer. We put together outings for a lot of the kids, birthdays and everything. And then we try to get them involved in some sports activities. And so we use that as a mentorship program for them. We disciple them, and we continue to work on the relationship with them. And then we show them that there is a safe place with us. And with us, meaning there is a safe place with God. And that's one of the things that they're not being even taught in the orphanage. They're telling them about traditions and different things like this, and the need to go to church when holidays come around. But that's about it. God is not in their vocabulary. God's work, or what he does and what he did, it's nowhere there. And so we come in and we provide that knowledge. We tell them about God. We tell them about Jesus. And actually we come in, sometimes that we bring teams, sometimes we bring friends that can attest to the testimony, the real life example, so the kids can see people that have gone through struggles, that have made it out because God changed their lives. We are able to open Bibles in these places, and just like we prayed about the freedom that we get to have, even in the United States and Romania, about being able to be alive as a Christian, to carry out the Bible and read. In the government, even though it's all orthodox and corrupt, we have the opportunity, and they're letting us to give them Bibles and to read the Bible to them in the orphanages. And a lot of the groundwork is years of relationship with the city hall, and to be able to do that. With the ministry, we also work with gypsies in the villages. I think it's the next slide. We have a place, a center in one of the villages that we work with, where about 20 kids come every single day. And it's like an after-school program where kids come and get help with schooling. They get fed every single day. I think a few of the pictures are there. I'm not sure. Yeah, so the one that's everybody's posing, those are the group of kids that come to the program every day. And through that, we work with their families, their direct families. We counsel them, and we also try to, one of our hope and prayer is that we keep these families, or we keep these kids at home. Even though there's so much poverty, there's so many poor families, dads are not working, moms are not working. They really rely on the kids' allowances that come in every single month because they go to school. And so we encourage that the kids go to school, and we also work with the parents to be able to provide means for them to get a job. It doesn't always work because they have to travel very far, and it's costly to travel. But we do our best to help those families. And they also, a lot of the families and kids are being somewhat, they're home with their families, but they are somehow forgotten and even rejected because they're poor, they never went to school, and they're not being looked at as they should. And so we look at them as Jesus looks at them, and we help them as much as we can, and we redirect them to the local church there. And so as we continue our work on weekly basis there. And we also do Ukraine ministry. We continue to do Ukraine ministry, even though I haven't been able to do it physically as much. We're connected to a couple of churches there. I think it's the next page. There's still a lot of displaced families. There's still a lot of children in the orphanage still that are carrying through this. There's a lot of fear still. There's a lot of buildings. This were taken a few months ago, but if you drive, which I've been able to drive through some parts of Ukraine, there's still destroyed buildings, and nothing's being repaired because there's that fear of they're going to be bombarded again. And children are being somewhat locked in, not necessarily being led to go to school or anything. They do a lot of home, online schooling. And so there's still things happening, and we're trying to stay connected as much as we can. I actually visited Joe, a couple months ago, and he sees and hears and knows from people that are actually in the middle of the war, from people that are at the border fighting, and so we try to stay as connected. And even though we're far, they're in our hearts, and we pray for them, and we help them as much as we can. There's another verse, Psalms 46:1 says that God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. Even though we're from the distance physically, we know that we have a God that cares for Romania, cares for Ukraine, and we are being used in what's going on over there. So yeah, these are just a little bit of what we do, but our main ministry is these kids in the orphanages, and almost wanting and desire and hoping and praying that God changes their direction of life, changes their lives upside down the way He changed mine. And one of the biggest struggles that they struggle with is those lies of not that they keep hearing from different people, of not being wanted, and they'll never change, and because they're too weak, they're too broken, and they're always gonna fail. And our prayer and our hope and our desire is to continue to pour the gospel, to pour the love, and really change the direction so that God can give them a new identity in Him. God can change the lives around. Galatians 6:9 says, let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap for what we do not lose heart. And sometimes ministry feels slow. Sometimes you pray for years before you even see fruit. And sometimes you invest deeply into someone and see change, little change. But God is always working. And years gone by, and we actually have a group of kids that have come to know the Lord, have surrendered their lives, and have always also been baptized. And they're still living in these apartments under the government care. They're 18, 19, even 20 years old. But these are some of the kids that come to church on a regular basis and continue to see what we do. Actually, two of them are we work very closely together, and I take them with me to the different places. I even take them to the village, and for them to really see what we do, and for them to see the changes that are happening in front of their eyes even. The changes that happen in their lives, they get to see it in other people as well. Things are not happening, things are not changing because we are somewhat special, but things are changing because Jesus changes lives. And so that's what he did to me, and that's what he continues to do to my family, and that's what we know that could do to the kids and that could do to families that we work with. And so my encouragement to you today, if anything you heard, is that you do not underestimate what God could do through simple faithfulness to him. And a conversation or a prayer or a meal together, a relationship, an invitation to church, God can change someone's life. And Jesus still sees people, Jesus still loves people, and Jesus loves these orphans. And he's loved them from the beginning. And so we're so blessed to be a part of that. Through struggles, through circumstances, God keeps us on our feet to be able to show these kids how much they do matter. And God can change them forever. So that's all I had.